Looking around here, I know that some of you know who I am, but there are many who do not. My name is Father Timothy Hall. I'm the priest in St. James and Madelia. This is my third year there. And Father Bierman can't be with you this evening because he is giving a lecture to deacon candidates. They are not deacons yet. These are men who will be ordained, if it's God's will, as permanent deacons for the Diocese of Winona. So I was able to give them a lecture on some bioethics last month, and Father Bierman's turn was up this month, and that fell on this weekend, and he asked me if I would cover him for this Mass. He is coming back, so don't worry about that. I am from Byron. It's where I grew up, on a farm south of Byron, west of Rochester. And I knew when I was in 11th grade that God was calling me to the priesthood, but I didn't want to be a priest. I didn't want to be a priest. You see, I saw how everybody in my parish treated our parish priest, who our family loved so much, and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that at all. I don't want to be treated that way. That wasn't it, actually. It was more kind of the common farm boy attitude of, I can't stand school. And I knew that being a priest first entailed about 8 years of school. And so that was the reason. I wasn't going to be a priest. And I knew what I wanted to do. And I was going to do that. And we have that first reading today from the book of Genesis. God telling Abram to go into that land, right? Just go, right? We have, in that second reading today, we have St. Paul writing that letter to Timothy, saying we're all called to holiness, each and every one of us. You notice how he doesn't really spell out what that all entails, right? He just says we're all called. We're all called to holiness, and we're called, right? We're called to go on an adventure. It's one thing that I like to get across to students who are preparing for confirmation. The Holy Spirit will come into your life, and He will disrupt your life. That's why things like fire and water and wind are perfect symbols for the Holy Spirit, because they're very powerful and they're very ferocious, and they'll turn things upside down, right? We see fire, those big forest fires devastating whole mountainsides, right? We see floods on the news carrying homes away. Maybe some of you have had your home carried away by a flood. I hope not. But water is very necessary, very humble element, but also very powerful, excellent symbol for the Holy Spirit. Wind, we know what wind is like around here, don't we? Huh? We know what wind is like. Huh? It can be cool and refreshing. It can also be very destructive, right? That's the Holy Spirit in our lives. It really is. Really is. Those who have me as parishioners, they know that I can be kind of brutal in my description sometimes. But the Holy Spirit, He means business when He comes in. And He wants to change your life. He will change it. He'll take what's been there and He'll take it all away so that you can have something new to build on. He'll float that house away that you've built just the way you like it. Force you to live in something else for your own good. Well, I went to the seminary because that feeling just wouldn't go away. 9 years after I graduated from high school, every time I would go to Mass, I knew I was going to be a priest, and I would walk out thinking, no, I can't be a priest. And finally I decided to go to the seminary, and I thought, you know what, this will never work out. This is not going to work out. I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to make everybody else miserable, because you know how that goes. When somebody in the house is miserable, everybody else is miserable, right? Huh? Same thing in the seminary. So they'll just ask me to politely leave, right? Because it's just not going to work. Not going to work. Well, something really wonderful happened without me even knowing it. Well, some of the men in that first year really did struggle. Really did struggle. And to just give you some perspective, not that this is a game or anything, but it kind of shows how this works. 17 of us came in at IHM in Winona as freshmen. 3 of us are ordained priests. So as our rector said, well, seminarians, they come and they go, but mostly they go. So if you're not called to be a priest, you don't sort of white knuckle it, and you only go on if you're called to be a priest. But it was a wonderful experience, and I did well. I did well in college. I was surprised. I didn't know I could read. I didn't know I had intellectual interests. It was really a wonderful experience. And you know what? I wasn't happy with my life before I went into the seminary. I wasn't happy with really setting out to do what I wanted to do, even though plans were coming into place there. It was what I wanted to do, but I suppose I was satisfied, but not the same kind of happiness that I had when I entered into the seminary and now that I'm a priest. It's not to say that there aren't challenges. There are many challenges. Parish life is very challenging, extremely challenging, especially during this time. I mentioned that I'm the priest of St. James in Madelia. That also meant that I had St. Catherine's in Truman. I see some of my friends here from St. Catherine's in Truman. And that's very heart-wrenching to go through that whole thing of a parish closing. Walking with the people, they were all so very good to me. The challenges didn't come from the parishioners of St. Catherine at all. More or less just that whole process. And some of that sort of just still kind of lingers there. Many difficulties as a parish priest. But, we have Jesus and James and John and Peter. They just had this wonderful experience. The Transfiguration. They heard the voice of God. This is my beloved Son, listen to him. And Jesus tells them, don't tell anybody about this until after I've died and gone to heaven, until after my death and resurrection. Don't tell anybody about this. You ever wonder why? You see that often in the Gospels. Jesus will cure somebody and he'll say, don't tell anybody about this. Right? He'll give sight to somebody. Don't tell anybody about this. It really is, I believe, because he knows that person who he just had an encounter with just experienced something so powerful that it really can't be explained. So you really can't even bother to explain it. Right? I can give you a story of what it was like for me on my pathway of becoming a priest, but it really falls short of what it was really like. It's why we really can't tell somebody what it's like to be married, because they have to experience it for themselves. We can tell them things about marriage. I can explain the theology of marriage very well to somebody, right? But they have to experience it, right? I can say some things about the priesthood or parish life, but I can't explain the whole thing because it just needs to be experienced, and how wonderful it all is, even in the midst of challenges and difficulties and setbacks, heart-wrenching things that you see and hear sometimes. Jesus wants us to go in the direction that he calls us, and he can't really tell us why. He can't really tell us why. Because it's going to be so profound and so wonderful. It's something you have to experience. You have to let the Holy Spirit come in and take what you've set up for yourself and blow it away or burn it down or wash it away. And then let God come in and help you construct something that's really truly going to make you happy. Really truly going to make you who you are. And if you let Him do it, He will. He wants you to be happy. He works to make you happy. And He will make you happy.